Welcome back to the Hero Shield Prop Project Part 2 in Autodesk Maya. So in this tutorial we're going to learn how to create this cool star here with our shield. And I've done it in between tutorials just as a demo here. I'm going to turn off the visibility of that layer. And we're going to reconstruct this here in Maya. So if we look at the shield, the star isn't immediately apparent like how to create a star. And our star is not going to look exactly like this. It's not going to be inset like this. It's going to poof out a little bit. It's going to have a little bit of bevel. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually use what's called the cylinder. So if I click on the cylinder form here, it is pops inside the stage here. And again, that's under the create menu, polygon primitives, and there it is, cylinder. Again, I have interactive creation turned off. And so when I select the cylinder, I'm going to be in my channel box, go to the polycylinder inputs, and in here under subdivision axis, I'm going to change this to a value of 10. And then what I'm going to do is rotate till I get to the sort of middle here. Right click on the object, go to face mode, and I'm going to select all these bottom faces and then delete them. And then right click and go back to object mode. Now if I hit W, you'll notice that our move tool is centered to the stage here. We want it to be centered to the object. So in order to do that, we can choose what's called center pivot. Now I have it as a hotkey in my custom shelf here. But if you go to modify, here is center pivot. And once you do that, poof, it centers your pivot on that object. Now let's go to top view by tapping spacebar, going over here to another view. And we're going to rotate. So again, E is a hotkey for rotation, but here it is as a tool. And we're going to click on that outside line and rotate to a value here. And if we go into the Y, if you do -18 or 18, you essentially have the line straight up and down. Now what I'm going to do is switch to my selection tool, which has a hotkey of Q, and then right click and go to vertex mode and hold the mouse down to access that. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab this vertex here, hold the shift key, and grab every other one. So just like so. And once I have every other vertex selected, and by the way, if you accidentally grab an extra one, just deselect by holding shift. We are going to hit R to scale in. So we're going to grab that center cube there and scale in until we get a nice cool looking sort of star. I want mine to be a little bit pointier, so it's maybe something like that, but that looks pretty good, I think, overall. And then I can right click, go to object mode, and voila, we now have a star. So we'll tap spacebar, tap it again to come over here. Now it's a little bit big, so I'm going to scale it down a little bit, and then hit W and move it down into position. And then it's a matter of just scaling it back and forth until I realize, hey, is this big enough for that circle or still a little bit too big? It's not going to be an exact perfect match. You may have to nudge things a little bit here and there. And I think a little bit smaller is okay. It's a little bit smaller here. You'll notice that each point isn't exactly lined up perfectly in terms of the star. Like this line here could be a little bit further over. And if we did, it might even out everything. So just realize that. So now what I'm going to do is right click and go to face mode and select these faces. Now you'll notice that it selected the bottom object, so I'm going to right click, choose object mode, make sure I have the star selected, maybe angle it a certain way, and then right click, go to face mode, and then drag a marquee over those faces, and then simply choose the extrude tool, which again is under the edit mesh, and there is the extrude. Then just make sure to grab the blue arrow and drag up a little bit. So essentially what we want is we want some extrusion here. Something like that's probably going to be good. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a bevel to the star because we can't do a smooth preview on it. We'd have to subdivide it in a crazy way and it would look really sort of wacky like this as a smooth object. So instead, in order to make this look cooler, instead of the very hard geometric lines, we're going to right click, go to edge mode, and we're going to double click on this edge, which is going to activate this edge loop, and then hold shift key, double click on the bottom one, and that activates all edge loops. And then I'm going to click on the bevel tool here, and what that will allow me to do is bevel the whole object here. And so you can access that by going to edit mesh and choose bevel. And then in here, you can choose whatever dimensions you want in terms of the bevel. So the fraction is set to 0.5, but you can hover over it and interactively kind of adjust it to your preference. 0.4 looks pretty good on my end. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then just right click, go back to object mode and select the object. Now what I want to do is essentially bring down the bottom face a little bit further into this geometry. It's easier to do that by isolating the selection. You can do that by going to Show, Isolate, Select, and choose View Selected. Then go underneath the star, and then right click, choose Face, and I'm just going to choose by holding Shift key all these little pieces underneath the main piece of the star here. And then I can go to Show, Isolate View, and uncheck View Selected. And then I can hit W for the Move tool and drag downwards, and you'll notice I now have access to those bottom faces. So what I want to do is allow them to penetrate the star a little bit, penetrate the shield a little bit, something about there. And then what I want to do is double click on the next edge loop. If I hold right click, go to edge, double click on this edge loop, I'm going to bring this one down a little bit further so it balances it out, so it's more like the bevel again coming down to match that line. Then what I'm going to do is right click and go to vertex mode, and each of these vertices on the end I'm going to grab. Now I could grab all of them at once. The problem with that is each one might have a slightly different level. So I'm going to grab one at a time and just basically drag this down a little bit so we get a little bit of penetration here between the star and the shield. Drag this selection here, and then again drag it down to where that bottom vert kind of just starts to go in. It doesn't have to go in all the way, but about that amount. Right about there. And again, I'm just going around selecting each one and dragging down individually. Bring that one down, and it looks like that one's already down all the way. So that looks pretty good. So now we can right click, go back to object mode, and check it out. There we go. I don't know, a little buggy there. Alright, so now we got the star on top and it looks pretty good. Now if it's coming out too far, which it might be, I can always drag this down a little bit and actually have most of the bottom faces penetrate through. I don't want it to penetrate all the way through where you start to see it here, so I might bring it up to a smidgen like that, maybe a little bit down. If I click out, yeah, you still can't see it penetrate through, which is good. I think that looks pretty good overall. So this is the conclusion of part 2 of the cap shield. It's looking pretty good. We got a nice good start here. Got the star and the shield. The next step will be to add the stuff in the back here, which is the straps here and these metal divots. Until then, see you soon in Autodesk Maya.